Okay, welcome, family, I guess. This is my second YouTube channel, so. And this is where I wanted to come talk about some things that I don't get to talk about in my daily life. Because I am pretty much a popular loner. Intellectual thinker, so I'm not really, I work, I'm around people. I don't know. Okay, so by the title of this video, I do want to talk about this. This is something I want to talk about for about 2 years now. I just haven't had I don't know. But this is something I really wanted to discuss because it's something that I studied for a while as I lived it. And it is kind of watching my personality shift or watching my growth happen due to my dog. My best buddy, my best friend. My silly girl, baby girl, smart girl, tough girl, daddy girl. She's lovely, okay? I wish I came in this video more organized. I'm just right now to eating Skittles and running my mouth. But I had to start it before I overthought it or talked myself out of it, you know? So let's start with basic information. So my name is John St. Carol, and I have a beautiful Labrador Pit Bull mix named Onyx, Elizabeth St. Carol. Yep, just a Capricorn sun, Cancer moon, Aries rising. You know your dog's birth chart? Sure do. Isn't that weird? To you, baby. I got her around 2022. I got her in 2022. She was born January of that year, sorry. And I got her in February. I want to say about the 22nd or something like that. Because definitely after Valentine's Day, because I, at the time, it is just weird for me now because of how private I am. And so if I start telling this story, it's going to be like, I don't know, just weird for me, different, essentially. So let's get into it. Okay, so I used to have a friend named Matthew, and he had a friend named Jarvis. And one night when I was at work and we were still, again, 2022, and we were still, me and Matthew hadn't hung out in a couple of months or about a year or so, in a sense, if I remember correctly, or something like that. Anyways, he is a Gemini, I am a Scorpio, so two very different personality types, okay? However, we were good friends since about middle school, high school, yeah. And he kidnapped me after work to take me to get a few drinks with some of his, at the time, his friends. And I was reluctant, of course, because ain't nobody doing all that. But at the time I was 20, I think I just turned 22. My birthday's November. And I read tarot on my other channel, so if you want to check it out, let me know. But we ended up going and getting some drinks with his friends and stuff like that, and I ended up meeting Jarvis, was a lovely gentleman, and although it didn't end so well, I take all those things as like, life was beautiful. I look back now and I'm like, life was beautiful, life was fun. But I was also very neurotic then. My personality type was an INFP, which means introverted, intuitive, feeling, and I forgot the other one. So I forgot what the P is, but I know the T stands for turbulent, which means I had a very neurotic type of personality, essentially, what that means. And I was always so nervous and always so after love. I was very, very much so after love a lot. And anyone that ever showed me kindness or I was very unhealed, I will say, very unhealed. And not in such a terrible way that like I look back and I'm like, oh, you demon. It just means that I was starting my journey into, I can see where spirit was kind of like preparing me for what I was going to endure. And I also want to quote that about a year before all this started happening, I did write in my journal. It's funny. So as I'm telling the story, like these cards are coming out, and it's like, yeah, Ace of Cups in reverse. I was feeling a lot of blocked creativity and like a lot of like confusion because I didn't know what to do or what to expect. I ended up sleeping with Jarvis, and it was good sex. I'm not gonna lie. I got story times for days upon my life. Okay, but essentially for about 2 weeks, I did kind of fall in love, and I say that with quotation marks because looking back, it wasn't. I was 22 and he was 33. Okay. There was no love. As a matter of fact, he told me that there was no love before that. And I was like, but of course my personality type at the time was like, no, I can fix him. I can, he just hasn't had my love yet. My love is healing. My love is nurturing. It is boundless, or at least it used to be sometimes. I think it is boundless still. Because I mean, if I love you truly, then I will give you just about everything because I love, right? But after those 2 weeks, it started to dissipate. It was around Valentine's Day. I don't say Valentine's Day is where my heart got broken because I remember, yeah. Point is, so we ended up kind of breaking it off, and it was very disappointing. It was very heartbreaking at the time, and it almost caused me to go in a spiral because I ended up being very suicidal at the time. Because at the time it was very hard to kind of grasp like what was happening or like grasp like what was going on. And when I say that, I mean like when you're someone who gives a lot of love, it is almost sometimes very confusing, especially when you're young, to understand why that love either gets rejected or you get the results you get out of those situations and relationships, right? You want to blame something, you want to blame anything, and not even just blame, but essentially kind of find cause. But it's hard to do when there's not really someone at fault. You know, that's like the hardest thing about realizing like relationships growing when you're younger is because you're kind of taught that like or conditioned that there's a bad guy and a good guy in a relationship, right? There's someone that puts in more effort, there's someone that puts in no effort. But a lot of times in a lot of situations, at least 89% of situations are just unsolvable. And I mean that as in like there's no conclusion or there's no definitive answer other than to walk away. And I think that's what hurts the most is that when you start realizing that as you get older, that some of the relationships are just mutually, respectively, just not going to work. It's hard because when you're in those relationships, it's harder to grasp because you want those situations to work, right? You're in those for a reason, right? You don't fall in love or even what we believe is falling in love with someone without grasping or attaching yourself to that person. And it is a lot of grief, right, to handle when you, even if it's 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, it's a lot of grief to, especially when you are someone like me who loves intensely, to kind of dissipate that grief and turn it into something more positive. And at the time I wasn't doing artwork, I wasn't in my creative bag, I was mostly just working and then like, and this kind of vacation of sorts that I was on was a bit, you know, that's why I say I look back and I'm like, okay, thanks to Matthew, because he did get me out of my, teach me how to have fun and ooh, be a teensy weensy less rigid in how I live life, right? Going to work every day, making money, it's not really that fun when it's nothing to do with it. Other than survive. But essentially all of this, the heartbreak and everything. Not only was it a heartbreak, but he was also sleeping with other people because no one was exclusive. No one, like, I look back, no one was exclusive. We weren't dating. We weren't boyfriend and boyfriend. We were just two dudes that just fucked, right? Essentially. And it hurt. I say that now, but like, just because like there was no like attachment to that, but like it hurt. I remember I was going crazy. I like drove by his house and everything, and to see who he was sleeping with, and like I kind of like stalked him a little bit when he was like with his friends. Even though he asked me to go out with him, I was like, no, I don't want to. Even though I like went, it was crazy. It was crazy. Just, but it's okay though because we grew. But essentially, his friend that he was also sleeping with, was also selling dogs at the time because he had a litter of puppies that had to be like sold immediately because I think it was at like his grandma's house and they were not expecting that to happen. And yeah, but so of course I only and I tell the story all the time to anyone who will listen, which is almost no one, but that's why we create a fan base. When you don't have something, you create it yourself, and that's what okay. So anyways, so yes, he had a friend that was selling puppies. At the time it was $40 per puppy. They had all their shots and everything. It was almost too good to be true, but at the time I had again been sitting in a lot of my darkness, and like I mean like sitting in the dark in my apartment and being like, what happened, and like no, like all this, yeah, great. Anyways, one of the realizations I came to that stopped me from suicide altogether was an understanding of what I was going through. And I thank Spirit, the gods, and myself for being able to take a pause because at the time, the way my personality was set up, it was very neurotic, so very on the go. So like, I also needed a lot of attention. I also needed to feel pity. I also needed to be the victim. Yeah, my ego was wrapped around. That's a whole different conversation with itself. But my ego was wrapped around my innocence, and so everything that happened to me happened to me. You know what I mean? Rather than understanding that there are parts of myself that I contribute to situations, right? Like understanding that when something is ended, that I understand when it's ended, and I stay as a choice in my human nature, whereas my ethereal self knows and my intuition knows that it's time to leave, but you stay for whatever reason, right? Sometimes it can also be my scorpionic type of control. So sometimes I may want to like obtain something. Like there's an ex that I have that like I used to always dream about, and like, but I realized it was just me wanting to impress him, or in a sense wanting to show him who I really am. And I think there's a lot of people that go through this and we don't talk about it, but it's an emotion that happens. Sometimes we don't necessarily want that person, but we want them to see us for who we know we are, right? Like we want them to feel our love and to almost control a situation, right? I can't control people's reactions to things. Like I can give my love, but if they don't want, if they reject it, they reject it. But I say that all to say that yes, I was very suicidal, very in the darkness. I was like brooding to hell and back, and then back to hell again. And then I got Onyx. It was a Saturday, I never forget it. And it was because Jarvis had invited me to have a conversation as a closure conversation, right? Again, I look back and I'm like, okay, grateful because that situation, you know what happened? I'm trying to remember it's been a couple of years, but I'm trying to remember it as linear as organized as possible. And I remember correctly, I think Jarvis invited me for the conversation, and we had the conversation. I'd already agreed to get the puppy because again, so prior to this, about a year ago to let's say 2021, 2020, 2021 really. I had manifested I was really into like I was really getting like learning about spirituality. And I was really when I was starting to grow. 2020 is when it started. 2021 is where it blossomed, okay? Um, and my spiritual journey took me on, of course, this is when I was learning about manifestation, scripting, and things like that. And this is scripting is, if you don't know what scripting is when you write about your life that you desire, but you write about it as in the present tense. So for example, if you want to be a pop star per se, right? You would write about your hair, makeup, and getting dressed, like blah, 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 getting ready for the stage and then coming off the stage, right? You would write about that in present tense as if you already have it. And it's almost like you're almost thanking spirit for giving that to you, right? So it's almost like you're putting yourself in that mindset, right? So I wrote about a new apartment and a black medium-sized dog. All black. Why? I don't know. I wasn't even like, if you look at me now in my current outfit and styles, it does revolve around a lot of black. Not even revolve around, but it is a lot of black. But at the time, and I will, oh my God, and it's also very fun to see too. In my photos, I used to be very colorful. Pink hair, blonde, this, that, like a lot of stripes, a lot of blue jeans, a lot of like color. I'm very expressive with my nature. And that was me. It was also a lot of exploring my sexuality as well. At the time, I was sleeping with a lot of guys. And and so I was kind of, sorry, that reminds me of a dance move. Oh, Gabriella. Anyways, yes, so at the time, so yes, so basically, let's go back to the story. So it was Saturday, I want to say the 22nd, and I had this closure conversation with Jarvis, and it was more like an understanding of what happened. And I think that conversation gave me a lot of clarity because it opened my eyes to, again, the situation of like, there was no bad guy. He was not a monster. He wasn't a devil. He wasn't. It also helped me kind of recognize what I was kind of thinking about my ex as well. Like there were other exes that I was like, again, when you're conditioned to the way I was, my everything that happened to me. I was the victim, not the perpetrator. I was the victim, the person who got everything that happened to me upon me. And this conversation kind of helped me grow a little bit because having it was, even though he was immature in some ways, he was very mature in the way that he thought. And he was always honest. He told me everything up front. It was just me who didn't want to hear it. And I heard what I wanted to hear and had already made plans to try to shift the narrative or shift the situation into my domain, which wasn't going to work because that's not how things happen in life. You can only give what you give and then you kind of get the results you get, right? We may say something like, basically put it like this, even though we may not be intended to, right? We may not intend to, sometimes we do end up being the enemies in people's lives, right? We may say something that may cause them effect somewhere else. We may even cause things like, again, we can be angels or devils in someone's lives. We don't control that. We can only control what we do as ourselves. But, sorry. Releasing this is very different for me, but new for me, but I like it. Given that Saturday, we had a conversation and, yeah, I think releasing this is very, very prominent for my soul right now. But again, had the conversation, gave me a bit of clarity. Like, I remember like feeling the sun through the clouds. Like, it was a sunny day, but there was a lot of trees around his house. And I remember like literally like feeling like the sun beaming, almost like clarity, like true clarity. And then on that same day, within that same hour, the dog was delivered to me in a box, in a towel, sleeping. I wish I would have taken a picture. Someone told me one time, like, you should start taking pictures. It was a stranger. She was like, because she told me, everybody tells me I have a beautiful dog. And I do. But she told me, she was like, I never forget, a blonde white lady. She told me that you should really start taking pictures because one day you're going to miss them. And I'm like, what? I would rather enjoy the moments. And now, I wish I would have taken a picture of her in a box, sleeping like a little baby. Anyways, so I got the dog. And I had to go to work that day too. So I remember it was a Saturday. That's why, because I had to go to work. And I went to work, got the puppy, I think, to everybody, and kind of went on my way. I don't think I really spent too much time around them anymore after I got Onyx. I didn't even know I was going to name her. I just kind of named her. But like, I mean, God, I remember this is such a lot of emotion. So I was so nervous and excited because I had this animal, and I could not believe that I actually had her in my possession. $40, everything. I don't need to get shots or anything. $40, and I got this beautiful little girl. And plot twist, want to hear something funny? So I've never had a female dog before. I've never really been around them. I've never really had any strong interaction with them. No joke. And at the time I was, again, 22. Never. I think I had one encounter with a cousin who has a female dog, but she was older, and my cousin didn't come around for like 6 years at a time, right? So like she would, every 10 odd years, she would just come by, and then one day she had this dog, stays for 2 days and leaves. So, you know what I mean? It's not like I'd be like, oh. But because I will explore the anatomy of a female dog and a male owner in a bit. But I'd always been used to male dogs. As a matter of fact, we've had dogs growing up, and I still have one, still have them. That's like one just passed away recently. Rest in peace, little buddy Diego. You'll always be remembered and cherished. I just want to point that out. And Willie, you will be taken care of, and I got you. I know that you're a little alone right now, but Onyx is with you, and I will start treating you both with a little more. When I say that, I mean like Willie is a little bit more quiet and reserved as a pup. You don't even know who these dogs are, but like he obviously with a little more grief happening, right? His best buddy, like Onyx is my dog, and she's very cheerful and she's a lab, so she loves everybody. Okay, however. Willie grew up with Diego. Onyx is born in 2022. Willie is a bit older, and so his buddy's gone. So I told myself that like I wouldn't just leave him in his grief. I would also take Onyx for walks and stuff like that. So I was to give him the time and a little more attention, and I can see that he wants more attention too. Cause yeah. Anyways, crazy. But yes. So at the time I thought Onyx was a boy because it's funny because I'm gay, right? So I'd never seen female genitalia my cousin's dog I never around her. Like she was always in her room with her or something. And again, 2 days. Like it's not in 22 years, you kidding me? Never seen her. So I thought little tiny penis. I was like, okay, cool. It wasn't until 4 months in that me and Matthew were sitting down in the bed, and we were like, Anyways, so first day I have her, Saturday, I take her to work with me, and I put her she's in a box in a towel, and she's sleeping. She does wake up, right, on the way to work. A little confused. Like when I say I was nervous, I didn't even know how to talk to her. I was like, hi, I'm John. I don't even remember, like, I just remember, because it was 3 days she went with me to work. Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. But Monday, a customer had like told my boss about it. My boss didn't care. Like, shout out to Ms. Deb. She wasn't really like, because I wasn't doing anything with her. Like, I wasn't like not doing my job, or like I just had her in the back of because I worked at a gas station at the time. So I just had her in like a little box. I put her in a little beer box because that way she can see and she wouldn't be like because she's tiny. So she wouldn't wake her up. Like the box she was in was really big. So I didn't want to put her like, she wakes up and all she sees is cardboard. You know, I wanted to see where I worked. But at the time, I remember around day 3, I was like, oh, this dog fucking hates me. And I felt very guilty because I remember I was taking her to work one day and she looked so sad and so distraught. And at the time, I didn't understand it yet because I'm empathic as well. So I was feeling her. But I did not know about the 3 rule with dogs. If you don't know what the 3 rule is, it is 3 days for them to get acclimated to you, right, to the new space. 3 weeks to get acclimated to like, okay, wait, I think it's 3, something like that. It's 3 weeks, it's 3 days, 3 weeks, and 3 months. 3 months, they're like fully yours. Like they're not going anywhere. They love you, okay, as long as you treat them right. But I essentially like remember this dog hated me because I remember at the time after Monday, like a customer had reported it. My manager was like, I don't mind, but because it's on camera, like because the camera, I worked at a gas station, and I worked at a very good gas station, but like the cameras were crystal clear, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that you couldn't, obviously, it's very random to have animals behind the desk, but like of course. And of course, as a new parent, dog parent, I was so afraid to leave her alone. I was like, who's gonna feed her? How's she gonna go back? Like, what? Like, what? This was my first time raising a puppy by myself. We had, like, Willie was a puppy when we got him, and I was in college at the time, but my mom had got him because she went to buy something off of Facebook and came back with a dog. I said, how the hell do you do this? But yeah, it's kind of how I grew up a little bit. Like, go do something, come back with a dog. I was like, how did this happen? Anyways, so I left her at home that Tuesday. Ooh. And that was the day that I knew I'd be okay. We'd be okay. You know what I mean? Okay, so I went to work. Did you worry about her the whole time? The whole time. The whole time. Like, I was like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't know if I had gotten her a cage yet. Because she did have a cage for a while. And then when I moved in with my parents later in a couple of years, like, they were like, we don't need a cage. And I was like, what? Y'all don't even know. But then, like, again, stories upon stories. Because that also was a lesson, too, of, like, trusting her. And it was crazy. Okay, so, that Tuesday, I think I was more relieved that work was over. I was so ready to go home. I was so ready to see her and just, like, feed her and everything. I can't remember how the exact day went, but I just remember getting my car and being like, all right, let's get to her immediately. Couldn't wait to go home. Sorry. I was also very, very tired because I worked. And so I remember getting home, like, this is like the moment. Like, I was like, I will be okay. So, again, I was kind of facing the dilemma of, like, I'm a bad person. Because at the time, I was like, oh, shit, I took her away from her family. She was from a litter of puppies. So, and again, she was born January, got her February. So she spent a month with these dogs, right? And not just these dogs, her siblings, her everything, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, shit, I took her away from her family. I just ripped her apart. What kind of person does that? What kind of, like, evil, manipulative son of a bitch does that? Like, that is literally the things I was saying to myself. Like, I'm telling myself I was just an awful person. Like, I cannot believe that of course she's sad. And I was actually contemplating giving her back because I said, maybe I'm not ready for a puppy. I'm not ready for it. And I remember thinking that all the way home. And I remember I kind of started crying because I was like, I really wanted this. Like, I really wanted this. But at the time, I was very notorious to me. Like, not for everybody else, but I don't know how everybody else saw me. But for me, I was very notorious for, like, picking up something and putting it down. Picking up something and putting it down. Picking up, put it down. Like, sometimes a lot of, like, jumping ahead, right? And then that turbulent type of personality where I was, like, really, like, just wanting anything to solve or to ease my pain. And it was crazy because I got this dog so I wouldn't kill myself. And then I was feeling worse about it because I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, what if the dog wants to kill herself? Like, what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. And I know it sounds odd, but, like, I really did not understand how to raise anything by myself yet. This is a new, like, I spent a lot of time by myself, and having something that I had to now take care of did not register with me yet. And at the time, only 3 days in, I was like, this sucks because she was not playing with me. She was looking at me like, I don't know. Like, I just remember that look on her face, and I remember, like, oh, this is terrible. So I think Tuesday I was off, or no, Wednesday or Thursday I was off, something like that. And so I remember I got home that night, and I had, like, I didn't have a cage yet, because this is the moment I was like, I think this is when, like, Spirit, and I look back and I'm not like, Spirit I don't know if it was just Spirit telling me I need a hug and giving me that hug that I needed, that universal hug, or it was the recognition of Onyx as my guardian companion. Say what the fuck you will, but, like, as, like, my soul companion, because I had a huge big bag chair that I got from Jarvis. You know what's crazy? Till this day, I cannot remember how the fuck I moved it in the apartment, because that was a huge big bag chair. Huge. Like, I remember when I moved, I was like, I'm not moving this bitch out. Like, I'm not, whoever gets this apartment gets this beanbag chair. Congrats. Like, I was like, that was huge. Like, the door, like, insane. But anyways, so I go in my living room, I open my door, I go in my apartment, and I like a tired ass nigga, I just flop down on my beanbag chair. I don't even worry about Onyx at the moment because I'm like, she hates me. What the fuck, like, who cares, right? I just plop down on the chair and I'm like, whew, I put my bag down, I was like, whew, I'm tired. And this dog, this tiny little beast, I swear, comes running and hopping out of my room and jumps on me and starts tugging on anything that she can on me. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And I remember that oh my God, for the first time in ever, like since, I mean, not even just getting drunk and fucking Jarvis. Like, I mean, for the first time ever, I remember like pure happiness because I remember, which by the way, so there's a habit she had to tug on my sleeve as tug of war, and this is where it started because I didn't have any toys for her yet. So I was, oh, I look back, I didn't have shit. I remember I was feeding her like ham or anything I could find because I only had a couple of dollars. Oh, yes, this is the other part of the story. So the $40 that I spent on her was out of the $46 I had in my account at the time. Yeah, looking back at like John's my like coming up story, like I don't even know, like make the dollar store and making $6 stretch. And sometimes, and not even sometimes, till this day, Spirit will give me money in places I will never understand. Like sometimes I'm like I remember like last week. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, oh God, I'm like a couple dollars short. I'm probably gonna have to like walk home or something. And boom, $25 in a place I didn't expect it. I was like, oh shit, right. But I was always like taken care of. Like I'm a spoiled brat by Spirit and the universe. Nothing I can do about it. But I remember like everything that I had in that because it was a couple of days till I got paid. Oh, I got paid on like Wednesdays, so wasn't really that terrible. But I remember I was like, I just gotta make this switch for a couple of days, and I did. Like we ate ham together, like one, you know what I'm saying, like. And then when I could afford to give her food, and it was easier to like, I gave her cheap shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like I got from a dollar store. Like everything. I'm not sure where did I get it from. I think I got it from Walmart. I can't. Again, there's a lot of details that I can't remember per se, but I remember. Of course, when I got money, I'm definitely like, all right, let's get you some collars. Let's get you some food. Let's get you some things. Of course, a lot of things ended in blue because again, I still thought she was a boy at the time. But I remember just when I came. But yes, anyway, I came home that day and we just played and we played and we played and we played. There was no reason to like. There was no. I just remember thinking like I was so happy that like she wanted to play with me that I was like, well, yeah, like hell yeah, this is the best way to end the night. And then, oh my God, and then I got like real sad because not sad, but like then she, of course, when you play with a puppy, all you need is about 30 minutes to play, and then they're really good to just lay down, and go to sleep. And that's what she did. She plopped down, and I was like, "Are we gonna be okay?" No, she didn't just plop down. Y'all, she curled up in my arms on the beanbag chair, and I was the first time, and that now that I recognize the dog parent, that I was like, I don't think I want to move. Like I could sleep here, and I did. We woke up at like 2 a.m. and we played some more. Like I was so happy that she just liked me that I was like, oh, okay, good, relief. Um, but that was the first of many times that she would teach me a lesson as my guardian animal, as my guardian pup, my guardian companion, my soul companion. And it would take me a while to realize how special she was to me and how special she is to me now. This video might be long, but I don't know if I should put this in 2 parts. Yeah, I might put this in 2 parts. So this would be the beginning, and then the next part would be like the lessons I learned with her. And how I started shifting and different things like that, because I think it's really important. Like that's what I really want to focus on. But like this is kind of the beginning part of sort of like story time of like how I got her and everything. And the next day, on that Wednesday, once I got paid, I could put gas in my fucking car. And I wanted to so I love nature, and this is crazy because I'm from New York, but I love I've come to love nature as a whole, especially when getting this dog. I was like I'd always taken walks in nature by myself just to get high and just talk to spirit, like, and do so many different things. But now I had someone to go with, you know what I mean? Like, and I had someone to like come with me, and so I was gonna walk her in the woods or whatever. And that day I think began something in me that I had like never experienced before, and it was beautiful, exciting, and also just new for me. And I can't wait to tell you the rest of it. So, if you're interested, there will be a next video on this, and I'll talk about in that video, I will talk about the lessons I've learned and things that started happening. Our connection started growing, trust, anger, anguish, my faults, and things that I will admit that I am not proud of, but I'm proud that I learned. Different things that she would do as a puppy, and just of course so many things. So being that it's 40 minutes here, I am going to leave this here, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, fam, for listening, and I'm glad to just be able to talk about it. So yeah.